president of Ohanese, who is from Ikwerre, I would rather believe these people because they have the political and cultural right to say where Ikwerre people are from. And then from their language, Hazoka, the back is strong. It is pure Igbo. However, like I said, it is a man who has complex. That is, I tell you something. At times, I go to church to give thanks to God for the honor and privilege of making me an Igbo man. You know why? Ndị Igbo are one of the rare gem in the whole world that can create their way out of any problem they are in. After the war, they were given 20 pounds. Before 10 years after the war, they are already the richest wherever they are. Adding value, creativity. 22 years after the war, we were already creating living in bondage in Igbo, somewhere in Lagos, that has started in Nollywood, that is ranking about the second now in the whole world. Creativity, which is a gift from God. Before the war, you always hear about Igbo man. An Igbo man will sit down, and whenever he has any issue, he creates his way out of the problem. Do you know that since the
FCT minister, Igbo Wike, denying his Igbo ancestry?
Well, you see, the issue of the FCT minister denying his Igbo ancestry is actually very amusing. I've seen the FCT minister, for instance, raising his hand and vowing during the presidential primary of PDP that whoever emerges from this primary as the presidential candidate, that I vow to support the person. He later on supported Tinubu in the presidential election after the vow. And he started saying, no, it's because he's from the South. And then I was asking myself then, when you were making the vow, were you not aware that you had some northern candidates that were contesting? You contested with them. When you were making the vow, did you say, I vow that if any southern candidate emerged from this convention, I'm going to support the southern candidate? You said, if any person, if anybody emerges, I vow, use the word vow, to support the person. I saw him also vowing he will never say anything against Odelina that will make him to cry. But the things he's saying about Odelina is even making Odelina's followers to scream. Then you can imagine Odelina himself. I saw him also vow that once he leaves office, he will leave his successor to have peace and will not come to disturb him. That is not the kind of person that disturbs his successor. His successor is the most disturbed successor in the whole Nigeria. So he has made a lot of vows which he had recanted. So if you don't like what the FCT minister is saying, just be patient. He will soon change. But let me talk about the issue of ancestry. Nobody chooses where he comes from. It's God that determines where you come from. That is one. Then secondly, the basis of nationhood from the ancient time is language. If you recall the Bible from the Tower of Babel, when God wanted to create nations out of the unipolar world then, he said, let us go and scatter their language. So, when God did it, you discover that people now who understood each other, what they were speaking, now aggregated and became part of one nation. So it is language that determines your nationhood. Ikwerre is Igbo, 100%. Ikwerre go na Chineke dị mma. Ikwerre Wike means Wike because in Igbo land, some dialects use the word Wike. If you remember, the former Senate president is Adolphus Wagbara. So it's dialectical. Nyesom is Igbo. So by virtue of language, Ikwerre is Igbo. And it is not, it is in his constitutional right to say he does not want to identify as Igbo. That's his constitutional right. But he cannot say he's not Igbo. Because by language, by tribe, he is Igbo and he doesn't have a choice about it. And again, if a Wike that is just a politician talks about Igbo, and the president of Ohanese, who happens to be an Ikwerre man, Senator Azoka Mbata, talks on what concerns Igbo. And then Wike's own political leader, who is Fubara, because the PDP concern is very clear. Once somebody is a governor, he is the leader of the state. If Fubara had welcomed Senator Azoka Mbata as the president of Ohanese, who is from Ikwerre, I would rather believe these people because they have the political and cultural right to say where Ikwerre people are from. And then from their language, Azoka, the back is strong. It is pure Igbo. However, like I said, it is a man who has complex that is even making his nationality an issue. I tell you something. At times, I go to church to give thanks to God for the honor and privilege of making me an Igbo man. You know why? Ndị Igbo are one of the rare gem in the whole world that can create their way out of any problem they are in. After the war, they were given 20 pounds. Before 10 years after the war, they are already the richest wherever they are. Adding value, creativity. 22 years after the war, we were already creating living in bondage in Igbo, somewhere in Lagos, that has started in Nollywood, that is ranking about the second now in the whole world. Creativity, which is a gift from God. Before the war, you always hear about Igbo man. An Igbo man will sit down, and whenever he has any issue, he creates his way out of the problem. Do you know that since the Igbos were purged out of the civil service of Nigeria, out of the leadership from the highest quarters, Nigeria has never recovered from it? The best time of Nigeria was before the Civil War. And then the Igbos were in charge of practically majority of the sectors in Nigeria. So what I'm telling you is that I thank God. I always ask God, what have I done for you to give me the privilege to be an Igbo man? And you can see it because he has given me all the faculties, mental and physical, to survive without governmental assistance. Pure creativity. So Ndi Igbo are not looking for people to be Ndi Igbo. Ndi Igbo are already grateful to God that they are made to be Ndi Igbo. Ikwerre people are the ones who rightly identified themselves as Igbo, rightly indicated interest to be president of Ohanese, and Ndi Igbo from the southeast, knowing that they are our brothers. One thing you can't find in the DNA of an Igbo man is segregation. No. Because by nature he's a traveler, he is a trader. And these two natural traits demand that you welcome everybody from wherever they come from. I'm sure that even if Yoruba and Hausa want to say they have become Igbo tomorrow, Igbos will still accept them and all of us will be one. That is just it. So when you say Wike is saying, don't be surprised if you go to him privately, with his voice. No, when you're walking about Igbo, you can't believe Igbo, you can't blow Igbo. You're not here politics. You want to know your politics, you can't blow Igbo. You'd be surprised, that's what he would say. So Wike is Igbo, or let me say Ikwerre is Igbo, but Wike has the right, just like he has done before, to say he does not want to identify as Igbo. That's his fundamental human right. But if you don't like it, just be patient. He will soon change.
React to the alarming situation in Edo State, where thugs and non-state actors are intimidating plaintiffs at the election tribunal, while the police do nothing.
You see why I'm always shouting about rule of law? Rule of law is very, very important. The principle that says every action shall be done in accordance with the law. I was alarmed when the gubernatorial candidate, one Ajaka, who contested to be governor in Kogi State, right there in Supreme Court, himself and his supporters were molested. Some of them, they even stoned him right there in the Supreme Court, even after judgment. The security agencies must realize that they swore to uphold the Constitution, and they must realize our politicians come and go, but they are civil servants. The way they act as if they are providing cover for the ruling party. What is happening in Edo State is very, very concerning and unfortunate. We must learn to respect the institution of the court. The court is a hallowed ground. When we were young, even when we go to the court on Sunday when nobody is there, we're scared to go into the court. Even if it is with a thatched roof. But now, we're throwing decorum to the air. Security agencies must live up to their job. You see, Edo's issue is a testimony of where we are now in our electoral jurisprudence. First of all, the electoral governance in this country under Professor Mahmoud Yakub has become the worst in the history of Nigeria. What happened in Edo State? Despite the fact that everybody was warning that there are some entrenched interests that have their own relatives as appointees of INEC, what a responsive, independent, autonomous agency would have done was to remove those people that are obvious relatives to people that have vested interest in the outcome of the case. No, but they didn't do it. They allowed them to go into the election. And after, we saw how mutilated results. We saw how results were even artificially delayed and after manufactured to be fed into the IRF portal. One non-governmental organization, Athena Insights, by Osita Chidoka, he said even the back end of beavers has been tampered with. That anybody who, after seeing what happened in those states, say he wants to go and contest election under this atmosphere is mad. Meaning our electoral system is dead. He said any court, according to their findings, that see all these things and do nothing then something is wrong somewhere. Then again, you saw how the plaintiffs or the complainants or the petitioners, in that case, after the election, they had to go into protest to even receive the documents from INEC. Meanwhile, the law is clear that after the election, any person who wants to have a copy of whatever happened, that INEC must give them all. Yet, then now they are in court. People are being intimidated. Whether it is the ruling party that is being intimidated or the PDP, it is the duty of the security agencies to apprehend those people and bring them to justice. So we are gradually getting to a point where the electoral administration is ineffective and the judicial adjudication is jaundiced. If we're not careful, then we are actually trying to use our own hands to destroy the Fourth Republic, because anything outside the sovereign will of the people being recognized and given effect to during elections is not democracy. Democracy is the government instituted by elections. People express their sovereignty through elections, electing their leaders. Election is the first pillar of democracy. Without election, there is no democracy. Or there cannot be democracy without election. So sitting down and writing results and then frustrating people from seeking justice from the court is the clear respite for electoral disaster and the termination of our democracy. If democracy is terminated, it will not pay anybody any good. So the people must also rise up and stop being docile. I thought they were saying Edo no be Lagos. Now wow. Edo don't become Lagos. Edo is now in the pocket of Lagos. So if Edo people know how to turn back the person they turn back and root at the back of the person, Edo no be Lagos, they should live up to the true meaning of that.
So what are the implications for democracy, and what actions should the president do?
First and foremost, it is really very disheartening that people should be calling the president to come and do something in a democracy, because the president is a partisan politician. So if you're calling him to come in to help you, especially when you're in the opposition, can't you see how faulty your mental reasoning is? Is it the president that assured them he was going to give them a do before even election? Is it the person you want to rely on to come and help you? That means digging your collective political grave. I've said it. The way forward in a democracy is that the opposition must rise up and be united, including members of the ruling party. In South Korea, when the president of South Korea declared martial law, his own party joined the opposition to take him out because he became a threat to democracy. Any president who does anything whatsoever to manipulate election, he's a felon. He is